It's always like these really heartfelt stories or
Yeah.
overcoming adversity, like someone who like was in war or survived cancer or something like that, which is great, which is why people watch the show. But it's
Mm.
like, I feel like I'm just kind of like your average Joe. Like I don't really have anything. And obviously I kind of went with my basic story and they weren't interested with it the first time around. So time to hit the old
You.
drawing board. And fortunately, again, I have a very, very weird sense of humor. And I can explain to you guys how the Chad Flexington character came to be.
Here he is, my man.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, loud and clear.
Oh man, we have the Chad Flexington,
That is
also
me.
known as Ben.
Also known as Ben, a less known name, a less known alias of mine.
I was, I was gonna say it's probably the other way around with you, isn't it? It's that it's Chad Flexington, but also could be known as Ben.
Yeah, the Ben guy's boring, though.
Oh man, I'm glad we could make this happen, man. Actually, I've been thinking about this for quite some time. It just, oh yeah, we should chat, and then I would forget, and then I'm glad you hit me up about it. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know, because you'd reached out. I was stoked to get to meet you in LA back in March before all the craziness started.
yeah,
And yeah, then obviously the rest is history, as they say.
yeah, man. Oh,
Now here we are.
here we are, man. I've gotten over it, but yeah, the moment I don't remember which producer it was. It might have been, is it Anthony Storm? I think he's one of
Oh
them.
yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
I think it was, yeah, the moment he just said, look, we got to pull everyone in, and he's like, yeah, we got to postpone it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh
It,
man.
it was almost expected because everyone that was on set the day before, we were shooting all of our B-roll and all the interviews and everything. And
Mm,
then like there's all this like kind of like rumors going around. Everyone's like, oh hey, there's like someone was saying we might not get to compete. And then someone else saying like, oh no, like it's still the show must go on type thing. But then
mm.
yeah, obviously it was that night that they sent out a phone call. So we got it like 24 hours before we're supposed to compete. Like, hey guys, we're gonna postpone it. It'll only be a couple weeks so we can find a new location. It's like then 5 months later, 4 months later, whatever.
Yeah, oh, man. And
Yeah, that was a bummer. That was awful.
but the weather was so bad.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've been to LA a few times, and I don't think I've ever experienced rain like that. I mean, to think that like it was bad that Friday when we're doing our B-roll. I mean, I being in that tent and it was just half drenched, like you were just standing in mud pretty much.
Absolutely. I know there was at least like 1 to 2 inches of standing water underneath that tent. Like
Oh,
they could have found a high spot to set the tent up on, but they set it down in the valley. So like all the water that rained all pooled underneath this tent. So we didn't have any rain falling on us. We were just up to our waist in it.
oh man, yeah.
That was awesome.
That would have sucked for your costume.
Yeah. I had I don't want to give away all my costumes because I'm probably going to use them this year, hopefully.
That's
I'm
fair.
willing.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm a man of many hats and many absurd costumes. So I had a lot of tricks planned for that season 12. That unfortunately never got to see the light of day.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right. We'll fight another day. But Ben, Chad, whoever you are. So I think what I love about you have this whole persona, this whole character, and I think behind it, you're actually. I mean, I remember when you were on last year, and they're like, oh, he's actually a researcher, and it's like he has this whole like academic. There's this whole like really normal or yeah more academic work, which is awesome. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you found yourself getting into ninja? Like, were you always quite active when you were young, and what were you like as a kid and leading up into to ninja?
Yeah, I've always grown up playing sports, all the more traditional sports, football, basketball, soccer, played golf, volleyball, kind of did a little bit of everything. I was very
Nice.
competitive, so anything that I could get into, team sport or individual sports too, I always loved it.
Yeah,
Um,
awesome.
but then getting into Ninja, it was I honestly probably started watching it. I think back when it was on G4, so that's
Oh
like
wow.
season one or two. Like I man, that had to be like a couple years after high school. I graduated in 2006. So yeah, I think it was like '08 or '09 or something, I guess, if we're on season 12, 13 now. That makes sense. Sometime around there. Yeah, come on, like there'd be that show Slam Ball. I don't know if you ever watched that on G4 or Spike TV.
Nah, man,
Oh,
I've
dude,
been in Australia like 18 years now, so
it was basketball, but with trampolines. It's like it'd be
Oh,
normal
okay.
dribbling rules, and they'd hit a tramp and like do like a 30-foot dunk or like a double front flip dunk. It was insane.
I
I don't
might
know
have
what
seen
happened to
the
that
YouTube
sport. Like
clips.
that should have taken off, but it didn't.
Oh, that's awesome.
But
So,
yeah, so anyway, so started watching it back then, and always I grew up. I did gymnastics when I was younger too.
okay.
Probably I think I started from like 5 to like 8 or 9, like when I was pretty young.
Yeah, okay.
My parents got me into gymnastics before I discovered more contact sports, I guess you could say. And so I always kind of, from the first time I saw the show, I was like, oh man, like I've got to do that. Like kind of the whole classic, everyone who sees it the first time, like, oh, that looks awesome. I could totally do that. I could totally do that one. And then you actually get your hands, or you try one of the obstacles, and it's the most humbling thing ever. You're like, nope, definitely couldn't. That's gonna take some work. But so my like, it went on for probably, I would say, like 3, 4, 5 years, or even more, until like season 7. So season 7 was the first season that I sent in an audition tape, a submission video, which was like 2015, 2016, somewhere in there. And I kind of went with, as you can, I'm sure, make up from my ridiculous character. I have like a different sense of humor, I guess, a little over the top. And like in my video that I made for season 7, it was so serious. It was just like very monotone, very like, oh, this is me, this is my family, this is my job. Here's a montage of me training. I'm sure you guys have never seen this before. And like lo and behold, it didn't get accepted. And there's a little bit of the kind of like motivated me to do another one, but then at the same time, like it kind of takes the wind out of your sails. And that was right around the time my wife was pregnant with our second child. And so shortly after that, she gave birth to our second boy, and just very busy with life and stuff. So I didn't apply for season 9 or 8 or 9. So I kind of had like a little ninja hiatus. However, like the seed was planted, and like I was already hooked, because like I built like I did like a cliffhanger in my garage and stuff, and a pegboard. And it's like, that was pretty much the extent of my ninja training. Like I'd done a bunch of pull-ups in my garage, and I mean, I was in decent shape. Like I've been working out and stuff, but like I didn't have any specific ninja training other than that minimal amount in my garage.
Yeah.
But there was that investment at that time. Like I built a little bit of a climbing rig in the garage. So the seed was planted, then I had a couple year hiatus. And then, so season 10, it was January of, that's 2018, I think we are now.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin Bull had just become the manager of Dojo Boom, which is like that trampoline place, kind of have like ninja stuff, trampoline stuff in Thousand Oaks, which is about 15 minutes from where I used to live in Camarillo.
Yeah. Okay.
And my niece had her like 10th birthday party there or something. So like Uncle Ben had to go and spend time, because like I'm a crazy guy on trampolines and ninja stuff. So like, oh, Uncle Ben, you got to come. All my friends like think it's the best. And so I went there, and it had like a little bit of a starstruck moment, like me, like, oh my gosh, like that's Kevin Bull. I totally forgot he had opened up this gym here. And that was the first time that I'd ever gone there. And so that had been probably like a couple years since I'd actually got on ninja obstacles and had any interest or like, or desire to do it. So I was there, I don't know, probably a few hours, having way more fun than all the 10-year-old little kids that were there, like just the big kid just jumping around and everything.
Yeah.
And I went up and I introduced myself to Kevin Bull. It's like, I don't want to miss this opportunity, like get to meet him, shake his hand and stuff. And so we started chatting. He was like, yeah, you've been doing like ninja stuff before? And I kind of explained to him like, yeah, I had tried, but I didn't get selected. Like I enjoy it, but never think I'll make anything of it. And then it was January, so like typically the deadline to submit is always the first of the year. So I just missed it for going on for season 10 by like a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And that's what, then he was like, well, like, yeah, you look like you had some pretty good moves up there. Like you don't have to submit a video. Like he's on my first season, which was like 5 or 6 or 7. He's like, yeah, I did the walk online. And now he's where he was back then. It's like, oh, okay. And that kind of relit that fuse, like him, like, he was complimenting me, and then he told me, like, yeah, well, I got my shot just from going to the walk online, so you should give that a try. And I'm like, you know what? I think I just might do that. So season 10, I did the walk online, And I had no idea. For anyone who hasn't ever done the walk-on line before, doesn't have any knowledge of it or experience with it, it's some of these guys will literally line up for weeks. And it's not like
Wow.
a little bit different than they portray it on the show per se. It's more like they're lining up somewhere else, because from the moment it stopped getting shot in Santa Monica Beach and it started getting filmed at Universal Studios, Universal Studios back lot is a closed lot. So you have to have an invitation to get in there. So a bunch of hoodlums can't just be lining up like in line a couple weeks out. They'd call security and you'd be thrown out real quick. But when it was, so I never did it in Santa Monica, but in Santa Monica, dudes would literally sleep out there for weeks in tents. And that's what Kevin was telling me. That's what he was there for like 5 days or 6 days or something, like day and night. You couldn't leave your spot in line. However, by the time that I had done it in season 10, it had evolved a little bit. And now that it was being shot on the back lot, there was a group, a coordinator, who would like meet at a specific location at this park every day. Phil, I forget his last name, but he was the one who organized it, and I didn't know any of that, right? So on Facebook, A. Smith Design Co., they do a post like 3 days before they announce where the walk-on line's going to be. And I through going through different messaging boards, I found that out. So I was like, hey, this is where Peter, the casting producer, is going to be, and we're going to do the whole walk-on thing before they have the lottery. And so I went there, and me thinking like, okay, this is a Friday before. I think the competition that year was like, it started on Tuesday. I took off the whole second half of that week for work, and then the entire next week, because I'm like, I'm going to go there on Friday, and I'll wait Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. Like, I figured I wouldn't be the first one in line, but I'm like, I at least got to be top 20. I figure I'll have a pretty good chance of getting on.
Yeah.
And then I show up at this park, which they said to be there like at 8 a.m. So I got there like 4:30 in the morning, thinking like, oh no, I'm going to be the first one there. And I waited in the parking lot for like several hours, get out, like go do some push-ups, try to like I want to be like all pumped up and jacked and ready to go, like in case we had to do anything, because I had no idea what to expect. And so I'm fully exhausted after like 3-4 hours waiting, like just doing jumping jacks and push-ups. Peter, who's the head casting producer, he got there. And then I see like all at once, like there's just this whole swarm of people getting out of their cars once he arrives. And I'm like, well, I was here first. I kept on getting out of my car, kind of saying hi to everyone. Like, I wanted them to know, like, hey, I was here before all you guys. Like, I get my spot in line. And then lo and behold, I find out there's already this list that's like 30 people long. Or like, I'm pretty sure I was number 27 on the walk-on line. And that was being the first one there, because there's already 26 people who had been waiting there, in some cases, like for several weeks. Oh, and I guess they had this system, like, in the morning, you didn't have to stay there overnight because it's at like a public park, and the police would probably come arrest you for loitering at the park at night. So like everyone would meet at like, I think like 7 or 8 first thing in the morning, and then they would stay there till a certain time in the evening, and then they'd go home and then do it again. But I guess dudes have been doing that for like weeks. There was guys from like Arizona, from like out of state, that were coming to do it. So I was 27th, and I'm like still like trying to keep my head high. Like, I still got a chance. Like there's been very, very seldom a night that they got more than like 20 or 25 walk-ons through. That's kind of the cap. Like it's almost 10 people guaranteed. 15 is you might run, you might not. It's kind of 50-50, and anything above that, it's just kind of a shot in the dark. So I was 27, but it's like I've already gone through all this. Like I already took the time off work. Worst case scenario, I'll get to be there. I'll get to stand like in the walk-on area with all the competitors. Hopefully meet some ninjas. Maybe kind of open up a few doors, make some connections, do a little mingling, try to attempt at socializing. But that actually ended up is what happened. So they got through, I want to say like 16, 17 people walk-ons that night. So I unfortunately did not get to go through. And if he's watching this or watches this, Arnold Hernandez, I want to say he was in the walk-on line with me that year. He's a local gym owner down in LA. And he was, I want to say, on deck, or like he was like on the starting line ready to go when the producers, like as the sun just comes up, like, all right guys, that's a wrap. Oh man, that has to be the worst. Like standing up there, like I felt bad, man. That has to be, I mean, I'd rather just be standing on the sideline, because at least I didn't get like the hopes of like, oh, I'm actually going to get a chance to run.
Yeah.
But what I did do is at the end of the night, there's like, hey, everyone, all the walk-ons who didn't get a chance to run tonight, like, thanks for coming, this and that, trying to just not make us feel like we wasted our night. There are all you guys that want to come back, that still want to get your hands on the course. We're going to need testers tomorrow for the city finals course.
Mm.
So, oh, and in case anyone doesn't know that, as much as the TV magic makes it seem, they don't film the qualifiers and the finals weeks apart like they air on TV. They're filmed back-to-back nights for anyone who's not in the inner circle of the ninja world. So the next night, went back there, went home, slept for a few hours, came back by like noon the next day, and got to meet Adam Sheldon, who's the head obstacle producer for the show. And we got to run the finals course. So I got to do I think it was from like obstacle 5 or something, 4 or 5, because they're making some changes as what they normally do for the first couple of obstacles. So we tested from obstacle 4 or 5, and then got to go all the way to the end if you could finish the whole course. And I made it to like, I think I failed on the 9th obstacle that season, which for me, again, like having pretty minimal like ninja training and like going up there, some guys that had been doing this for a few years, I was like, I felt pretty accomplished with that. That was all right. And it was good enough to have Adam, who's the obstacle producer, like, hey man, let me get your number, because we have, if you're local here, they have their warehouse in Burbank, and that's where they build the AST. They build and they test all the obstacles, or ATS.
ATS, yeah.
ATS, yeah. AST is a security company, I think. So he asked if, like, if I wanted to come do some testing at the warehouse. I'm like, yeah, it's like a 45-minute drive for me. I'm totally down. So then from then, which was March, all the way till June, that whole season, season 10, I got to go down to the warehouse like once or twice a week, some weeks, and test out all the obstacles that like debuted that season. So
my goodness.
That was insane. That was really, really cool. And so when you're testing obstacles, Anthony Storm and I forget the other executive producer, what his name is, but all the head honchos are there.
Greg.
Yeah. They're all there because like the ATS will do or AST, like whatever it is. I'm not going to remember the 3-letter acronym for them. I don't even know what that stands for. Whatever they are, the unknown acronym, they set up the obstacles, and then the producers are there kind of just analyzing it. So they have like a tall guy go, they have a short guy go, they have a girl go, they'll have someone who's a lot lighter, then they have like a bigger guy go, just kind of cover all the facets of different types of ninjas that are going to face the obstacle on the show. Because it's a reality TV show. So if it's just something that's way too hard that takes out everyone, that's going to make for a really horrible episode, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry to cut your story off. So this testing, this is interesting. So when they are working out what obstacles they want to use, they do them in a warehouse. They don't actually do them they obviously test it again on course, but they actually test separately to the course brand new obstacles that they want to select in this warehouse.
Think of it as like a rough draft, right? Like this is the preliminary stages of testing to see if it's gonna make the cut. And we test, we did back then. We tested a lot of obstacles that I never even saw it make the course. So there are some that just don't get picked. They kind of hit the chopping block. Like, nope, we're done with that one. We don't want that one. But it's interesting too. Like kind of the insider baseball scoop on it is like if everyone's going through it way too easy, they're like, no. The producers will be there on the side of their iPads and making notes like it's too easy. It's like the dudes will be there with like a grinder. It's like, all right, cut off 2 of the 4 handles, make it harder. So you only have like 2, or like just modifying it right then and there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome process. But what that allowed me to do was to get that like FaceTime with the producers, and like I had continued my training and was continuously progressing like in my abilities in the sport, and so I felt that was good, like getting to show them. They didn't get to see the Chad character yet. However, I got to kind of strut my stuff, I feel like. So it's like, oh man, this guy, well, at least one obstacle at a time, is very proficient at doing them. I'm 6'2" and 200 pounds. So endurance is like just doing one obstacle, no problem. Or going for like a massive send, like that's right up my wheelhouse. Like that, it's like a big power move or something. But when you start coupling them one after another, it's like, no, I can't hang on anymore. So that's, let's see. So yeah, so that was season 10. So I got to test, and I actually got to go to Vegas too and test some of stage 1 in Vegas.
Oh, amazing.
And then, yeah, so I went with a buddy of mine out there, and we tested the first night, which was stage 1. And then the second night we're in Vegas and we got distracted, and I never made it to set to go test you. I think we were playing slot machines and stuff. But I got to test it one night and then was playing hooky the second night.
Oh, right.
So then at that point though, like after doing that, it was like, I'm 100% like I'm getting on the show next season. Like I feel like I'd hit that point, the tipping point in my learning curve where it's like, I realized what not to do on my submission video. I had got the opportunity to kind of show my skills in front of the producers, the opscal and executive producers. So it's like, okay, I hope, like at one point, one of them like actually said like, hey, good job, Ben. So it's like, they recognized me by name. So like, all right, I got those seeds planted, and now I got to be entertaining. Like I got to have a compelling story. And I've been blessed with a pretty normal, I guess you could say, not uneventful, but I don't have like any like crazy huge overcoming adversary or like someone I know didn't just die. Like it's always like these really heartfelt stories or overcoming adversity, like someone who like was in war or survived cancer, something like that, which is great, which is why people watch the show. But it's like, I feel like I'm just kind of like your average Joe. Like I don't really have anything. And obviously I kind of went with my basic story and they weren't interested with it the first time around. So time to hit the old drawing board. And fortunately, again, I have a very, very weird sense of humor. And I can explain to you guys how the Chad Flexington character came to be. Because contrary to what Matt Eisman said, my first night on the show at the city qualifier, saying like, oh, his lifting buddies gave him this nickname in high school. I don't know who told him to say that, but my lifting buddies did not give me this name in high school. So not to throw Matt or anyone on Ninja under the bus, but that is not how that Chad Flexington came to be. So my wife, her birthday, I don't know, 6 years ago, whatever, she had been bugging me like, hey, I need you to like make me a workout plan. And she had for kind of months leading up to her birthday. And all my friends and stuff, I've been into like fitness and exercising and training and stuff for many years. So I have a lot of friends and contacts that like will reach out to me, like, hey, Ben, can you put together like a workout plan or diet plan? And then my wife is always giving me a hard time. She's like, you give all your friends and everyone else, you always set together plans. Why don't you ever do anything for me, your wife? I'm like, you got a good point there. I probably should do that. I should probably make time for the most important person. So I was like, all right, well, challenge accepted. And I'm not just going to make you a workout plan, like, because we have kid children. So she wanted something she could do at home. Like she likes watching those 30-minute little like high intensity videos. They put on a video and you just follow it on the TV. Yeah. So I'm like, well, I'm going to go way overboard on this and not just set up a workout plan. I'm making you the most epic like 1980s workout video ever. Like total Richard Simmons, like just dancing around in short shorts and a fanny pack. And so that's actually how I came up with the name for my wife's birthday video, Chad Flexington. And it was less just like wrestler, super Americana themed and more inappropriately skimpy shorts and much more adult humor themed. And yeah, so that video will probably never ever see the light of day unless like I show it to someone on my computer at my house. That will never get uploaded onto the internet. That I can promise you.
Oh man, that would be the end of
instant demonetized, accounts blocked. Get this weirdo out of here.
Wow.
So that's how the genesis of the Chad Flexington character, if you will. And so then keeping that in mind, like after and keeping in mind what I'd said about like this whole this path down Ninja, I was like, all right, so I'm gonna take this Chad Flexington character, which like is pretty entertaining. Like it was a pretty big hit. My wife got a kick out of it. Hopefully other people will too. But I'm gonna modify him. I'm gonna make him PG. It's gonna be very family and kid appropriate. And so I'm very patriotic. So there's aspects of the Chad Flexington character that are 100% me. Like there's no like, I'm wearing red, white, and blue pretty much every single day, as you can see with my hat and my jacket. And it's just that if you look at my closet, it's like there's black and white, maybe a gray shirt, and then just red, white, and blue. Those are the only colors that I really wear. And I also was a huge WWF wrestling fan growing up. So like 90s, mid to late 90s, early 2000s, I was big into wrestling, which like even still it's entertaining. Like it's so absurd and just so obscene and over the top. Like, you know, it's fake and self choreographed. Like it's like an adult men's soap opera. It's still just entertaining as heck because it's so silly to watch. So I was like, I'm going to totally bring that because for two kind of a twofold reason. I needed something to be creative and to sell myself. But I also think like the Ninja, the show, it's you have to have that, like, it has to be diverse. There has to be a lot of different stories, a lot of different backgrounds. So it's like, you see all these really, oh, this is a really compelling story. This is really heartfelt. It's very sentimental. Like, a lot of feel-good stories, which I love them, as does everyone else. But it's like, I'm gonna bring the comic relief. I think that's the only thing I can bring to the table is just absurd comic relief. So it's like, yep, that's me. Sign me up. So that was kind of how I started, like, crafting the Chad Flexington character. Also, last thing too, another part that's like 100% me in the Chad character is best decade ever. Obviously the 80s. So it's like the music, the style is just so amazing and ridiculous and just hideous in some cases. Like, it's like I have to go like 80s theme, like everything, like wrestler 80s theme, kind of like go with like the 90s or 80s like action heroes like Rocky and all the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. I had to kind of roll all that up into one package. And that was kind of the birth of Chad Flexington.
Wow.
Which I have on my Instagram, like my original video from season 11 that I submitted that like got selected. However, that was not my first video. So being a habitual procrastinator, I waited until January 1st to start filming, and it was like midnight. January 1st was the deadline.
Oh my god.
And it's like I had all this, I'd planned this out, really, really good at planning things out, but poor on punctual execution. It's like I had just procrastinated time and time again, and then it was New Year's Day, and I hadn't submitted my video, and I had like 12 hours to get it done. So I was like, oh man, dang it. I had two huge big plans. I'm gonna miss the deadline. So I did a last minute thing at like probably 5 p.m. I went out into my garage, which I had like a bunch of ninja stuff set up in there. Yeah. So I did like this 4-minute shot, this one-hit wonder, in like these tie-dye pants and a lifeguard fanny pack, and I put on the mullet wig and like a headband, and I just like, I'm like, I don't have time to edit this. I literally have completely run out of time. I gotta like, it was 2 takes. It was like a 4-minute video, and there's like a 2.5-minute clip, and then there's a 1.5-minute clip. I couldn't get it all in one. Yeah. Like I made it like halfway through, and then I did the second half all just so it was 2 takes that I just had to do one little smooth transition. That was the only editing I did on the video. And probably like 3-4 weeks after the deadline for the submission videos, I get a call during the day when I'm at work. It's like, hey, Ben, so-and-so is one of the casting producers. I'm actually kind of disappointed. I'm drawing a blank on his name because it was like 100% this guy was the sole reason why I got selected to be on the show.
It wasn't Peter? Wasn't Peter who made it?
It wasn't Peter. So Peter is the head honcho in casting. He's the top dog. Yeah, so this is, they have, in like casting, you're going to go through like your first wave. There's going to be guys that are kind of scouring through these thousands of videos getting submitted, and then they're going to take theirs and they're going to take it up to the next person on the totem pole, and so on and so forth, all the way up past the ninja producers, going all the way up to NBC executives, like who they want on the show. Yeah. So Adam Scott, shoot, I forget what it is. That's okay. Anyway. Besides his name, he called me up and he's like, hey man, this is so-and-so, one of the casting producers for American Ninja Warrior. And like that automatically, like your stomach's in your throat, no way, dude, is this the call? And he's all, so I got some good news and some bad news. Good news, I thought your video was hilarious, dude. He's like, I totally get it. Like the whole wrestler kind of crazy theme, like it's gold. I really like it. Yeah. However, your video sucks. I'm like, oh, all right. Well, I would probably second that because it took me about 15 minutes to make it. So it's not that good. But yeah, like, because I filled out, like I spent the time, and you have to submit an entire paper or digital application, answering a lot of questions and stuff. And then you submit your 2 to 3 minute video with it too. So like I had written a lot of stuff, all the things that were unique about me and this and that and the stories. And then I made that video. So he's like, yeah, your job sounds pretty interesting. And like, we like your story, like your athletic background. I've done some other like less known kind of obscure sports. And they're like, yeah, that was really interesting. Like we can talk about that. But yeah, man, you got to make a real video. I'm like, all right, like that's. I guess I'll take that. Take those punches, stand in. Like what do you recommend? And so he kind of gave me some pointers. Like, yeah, just talk about like, let's go into more detail into your job. Like, do some filming of you at work, like what you do, how you incorporate Ninja with that.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, like that's. I think I can do that because he's like, yeah, this was on like a Thursday, I believe. And he's like, I need to have this. I'm presenting it, all my choices to the next round on Tuesday morning. So I get it to me like Monday night or first thing Tuesday. And then I can present like your video and show it to the next level up. And so that night, yeah, it was a Thursday. And I was training that night with my buddy Tyler Schlorf and Kevin Bull. We went rock climbing at this gym in Thousand Oaks. And so that night, like, I was kind of nudging Kevin Bull. I'm like, hey, man, so they said they liked my video or they liked my character. And like, we've been training buddies, like, and we had been for probably about a year at that point. And so he knew of like the Chad Flexington, the kind of the route that I was going, but I hadn't really shown anyone the video or just little snippets of it. And so it's like, they said I got to make like an actual video, but I think I'm going to need your help. I think I got to bring in some big guns. So I have my celebrity appearance in the video and it'll way up my chances for getting on. So Kevin, being a good sport, was like, he was managing the Dojo Boom at the time. And he's like, why don't you just come in tomorrow, like in the morning before it gets all crazy, and like, we'll film some stuff and kind of make a run at it. So I filmed that, and then I shot some stuff at work and sent it in. And that video I have on my Instagram for like a year ago, whatever. So you can see that. And I think after that, then the rest is written in the stars and the history books now of the Chad Flexington character.
That's awesome. We'll get into how your season went, but you know, I think that's really important what you just described in your journey into working out how to stand out amongst thousands and thousands and thousands of applications. Because I think that's the thing is people think, oh, you know, I don't have a story, I don't have something that's happened or whatever, but there's always a way around it. But and I think
there's always that angle you can take.
There's always an angle, and I think what you have described, I think, is perfect for anyone listening. Is, you know, everyone's got something quirky if you're willing to show it off. And, you know, you can spin anything in any way. And just the fact that you were able to use a character that you created, which we now know is for your wife, as a joke. And, you know, it's still a part of you because there's still aspects of you in that character. So it's not like it's just a made up thing that you have to pretend to be. It almost is a part of you. You just sort of drew it out and you were able to package it in this awesome way. And, you know, they loved it. And I think you're right. I do realize now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think any applications really provide comic relief. As you said, everything's always so serious, isn't it? And
like anything, not that's a bad thing, because it's great. And that's one of the reasons it's so heartwarming. Like, that's what people like watching it, because all these success stories, and it's like your everyday people overcoming adversity and like defeating these obstacles, which is parallel to like overcoming obstacles in your everyday life. So that's why everyone can relate to it. However, anything, no matter how good, you get fatigued watching the same thing over and over and over again. Like, you got to mix it up.
Absolutely.
So that was stirring the mixing pot a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
adding a little wrestling flair to it.
100%. I think I sort of now that I'm hearing how you come up with yours, because I had to think about how could I get onto the US one? What on earth could I use? And I think, listening now, I probably took some aspects of what you said. You know, you're trying to combine things in Australia that you know could be put together in some sort of comical sort of character. Though it's not really me, but I knew I needed something to stand out. So I haven't shared. I'll have to share. I haven't publicized my application video, but I'll have to send it to you.
Yeah, I want to check that out for sure.
I think you'll like it. My friend helped me, so it's really well shot. And
so explain to me, because I'm not as familiar with your story. How did you end up on the American Ninja Warrior for season 11? How did that play out?
It was season 12, so this year. So basically, so I competed here in Australia, first 2 seasons, and then felt like I had my run, like I had my time and kept trying to get back on and wasn't successful. I tested in season 3, and then didn't do too well in testing. And then season 4, I wasn't particularly optimistic. Still got through because it's a bit different here. I guess we have an extra stage that you guys don't have. So what they do is we apply the same way. So you submit a video, you've got all the questions you have to answer, and then the producers go through all that, and then they select, let's say, I think normally they do about 600 out of all the applications, and they travel around to all the sort of main states in the country, and they do an actual physical interview and
Oh,
a fitness
nice.
test. Yeah, so they'll do a whole fitness test. Um, so they've already selected out of that however many thousands, 600 that they're interested in, and then from that 600, after you do your, you'll go to a gym, and they'll sort of do all your inductions, sign all your waivers and stuff, and then you will have an interview one by one with, I guess, one of the lower producers, and then you're in your time slot. You'll be taken into the gym or wherever it is, and you will meet the executive producers. They'll give you the rundown of how the show works, blah 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 blah, and then they'll get everyone sort of in like a line,
Mm-hmm.
and there'll be someone who will take us through a fitness test. And it's kind of really like progressed. It used to be really simple. Like it was like, okay, 5 minutes this, 5 minutes this, 5 minutes this, 5 minutes this. It was still hard.
Yeah.
And then now they've gotten a lot more like ninja-esque. So they're looking at body control and hops and landing and this and laches and this and that, which is what they never did before. Now they're adding grips into the test and like lock-offs. And it's like, oh, okay. Now we're talking. So it's not the
Yeah.
test. I don't think the physical test is the most important. It's the interview that matters. But then from that 600, they'll choose whatever the amount they're going to be. It's gotten gradually less every year. So I think last year was like 150 ninjas they
Okay.
chose. So, the odds just get even smaller and smaller and smaller. Um, so after not getting on season 4, I had always had it in my mind that I wanted to
Is
try.
Australia on right now? What season is Australia on?
We're going into our 5th. So
Okay.
they actually have auditions now around the country. So different states are holding them. I can't say if I am or not auditioning. Um,
Why is that? Surprise?
they make you keep everything under wraps. You
Okay.
basically can't even say if you're on the show until they tell you to, which is like
Wow.
maybe
Well,
a month out before airing. They're really secretive.
see, and they're pretty secretive, obviously, on the American Ninja Warrior show. However, like the second you get the call, it's like, oh my gosh, like everyone does their whole big like the obligatory I got the call post, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Which I think is all. I feel like you should be able to do that, but they're like, no, 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 you can't tell anyone. You can't tell anyone. You can't, and then you have to wait until well after you filmed, until just before they air. Then they'll give you some photos and say now you can announce it. They have the whole thing they want you to follow.
I actually kind of like that. It's that mystery. Like everyone's excited. Like, oh, I wonder who's going to be back on this season. I guess I can kind of see like the draw in that though.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's just it's hard to hold on. It's hard to hold that secret
Yeah.
for it's
Well,
people are gonna know. So it's like you can't hold on to it for too long. But I actually applied for season 10. I didn't finish the application because my video sucked, and I was like, I'm this sucks. There's no way I can send this, so I held off on that. And then it was season 11. I got my friend. I said, listen, he's also named Ben. Funny enough, he's a videographer. So I said, listen, Ben, I've got this idea, and I need you to help me flesh this out. So we fleshed it out, hashed out this idea, and then we went to a beach. We brought a barbecue. We brought shrimp. We brought classical, Australian beer and chocolate and stuff. And we pieced together this, and then I put it together, but then I needed his touch because just the way he could color grade it and edit it nicer, and he had better clips. And we put it together. I was very fortunate. My mother had a connection. So all my family, obviously, I'm American, so my mother's moved back, so she's in LA, and Um, all my family's over there. She, thank goodness, had a connection into NBC. So at least when I submitted my video,
Nice.
there could have been an alert. There was an alert
Yeah.
for it. And, I think we did a
I
good,
was on the lookout for it.
yeah.
That's
And I think we
nice.
did a good enough job. I think her name was Samantha. 2 days later, emailed
Yeah.
me. And then, and then eventually Peter had to reach out. He had to call my mother first. And then, we had kept missing each other. And I think it took us like 36 hours for him to call. And because we had to call on WhatsApp, because obviously I'm in Australia, I've got an Australian number. And then, then that's how that happened. And it would have been really awesome because it would have made me the first ever Australian ninja to compete on the normal season. Because obviously we've had, Ben, Olivia, and a few others come over for the international
Oh
stuff.
yeah, that's right.
But you've got to be a US citizen to compete. So this would have been it was a big deal.
You had
Uh,
a dual citizenship then?
yeah, I got the dual
Nice.
citizenship. So
Awesome.
that's how I came to getting on, or nearly getting on, I should say.
Yeah, it's that man. The season 12 was the biggest. I had never like trained, prepared so hard for anything, and had so much confidence going into something just to
Mm.
have the whole rug pulled out from under you. It was depressing. It's like, what the heck? And then like they would send out emails periodically, like every 2 or 3 weeks, like, all right, we're still trying to lock down a location, like hang tight. And it's like a part of me is like, this, who knows when this is gonna go away? Like the season's done. I don't even want to work out. I'm gonna start eating cake every day now. I don't even care anymore. But then like a part of you's like, no, you gotta keep going just in case. Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I was doing because I was flying out that Sunday, so we were. So I obviously was there like prior, so a good 2 weeks prior, so I could train and travel and
Yeah,
meet ninjas
you
and
weren't jet lagged when you were competing.
well, I wasn't jet lagged, but I was sick, man. I could probably keep
No
saying
way.
it every podcast I do, but I was like traveling. I think I did 5 flights in a 6 day window, just traveling uh,
Oh, wow.
west to east, and then stopped in the middle, and then back to the west in 6 days. So I was just toast. So I think come Saturday when we would actually run, I was so sick. Obviously, it wasn't corona. I think it was just literally just lack of sleep.
Oh yeah, exhaustion.
Yeah, and I was really bad. So I don't actually know how I would have gone anyway. I still would have ran. I didn't travel all that way, but yeah, man, I just felt bad for everyone.
But that
Um,
whole, even if the whole COVID Corona thing hadn't started, well, to your point you made earlier, like the rain, it
oh
doesn't
yeah,
ever rain in California ever. And like I remember on my iPhone looking at the weather, the entire 10-day outlook shows rain every single day. It's like in my 32 years living here, I've never seen this. And then it's like, of course, the night like there were the time slot when we're gonna compete, just rain, solid rain. And
and
what baffles me
yeah,
is the fact that the amount of money that production has,
oh,
and they can't put a freaking tent over the back the back lot.
I was
It's like
thinking that.
literally a narrow corridor that has tall buildings on either side.
Mm,
Just take something across the top. You can't cost more than like maybe like to do that whole strip, maybe $10,000-$20,000. But like in the
yeah.
grand scheme of things, that's not that much. It probably costs less to do that than to set up all the trusses that everyone's going to be competing on.
Oh, 100%. And I think what surprises me the most is that how come they haven't gone indoors for everything? I thought after after season 10 in Tacoma, which was a hit by the sound of it,
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't just go, we're just going to go indoors for everything. But I
I
guess
don't know.
Universal, they got that, that I guess it is a cool set. I don't know, but
Yeah, that's just one of what in a typical season would be 6 different cities. So it's
mm,
like yeah, they're like what was the other one? Like outside like the Mercedes-Benz Dome or something in like
mm,
Atlanta. I think it's in Atlanta or something. Like it's a cool backdrop, and some of the other backdrops are cool, but
mm,
it's like the lighting and inside an indoor stadium is way cooler,
mm.
especially for all the production, all of the crew, the lighting crew, the entire production unit, and the competitors and the producers. It's better across the board. Like doing this stuff at 3, 4, 5 in the morning sucks.
Oh man.
still fun. It's still amazing experience is like nothing else. But like if you got the option, like, hey, we can do it at noon or we can do it at midnight. What do you want to do? It's like, oh, that's a tough one. Like, come on.
Absolutely. Oh man, before we get sidetracked, you got to tell me. So tell me about your debut season. So you
Yes.
redo this video, and what happened from there? Tell me.
All right. So the biggest thing I think going into it, because like I was stoked. I finally like, holy cow, like I've been pursuing this for years. It's like 3 years of like pursuing Ninja, wanting to be on the show.
Mm.
And I got on with this crazy character, and I thought like, man, this is gonna be like a double-edged sword now, because I made this awesome character at the time I thought was just kind of absurd and like funny, this over-the-top character.
Mm.
How ridiculous is it going to be if I get on the show and everyone knows like my training? Once I found out I was getting on the show, it's like I'm all or nothing. I'm either in it 100% or it's like, I don't really, no, I'm not interested. And once it's like, yeah, hey, you're going to be on the show. It's like 7 days a week, like 2 to 4 hours a day. I'm training, and I have a full-time job. At the time I had 2 kids, married. My wife works full-time at the same time too. So it's like, I'm getting up at 3:45, 4 a.m. doing morning conditioning in the morning. After the kids go to bed at like 8:30, then I'm driving half an hour to the Ninja gym, or I'm going to rock climbing gym, and I'm getting my grip and more Ninja style training in. So it's like, I've been busting my butt for months for this, like training, conditioning, also diet too. It's getting down to like 3-4% single digit body fat is a very regimented, weighing out my food, prepping all my meals for the week. Doing caloric deficits for months is the most miserable thing, like just hungry all the time. So there's a lot that goes into it, because again, I'm 100% all in. I'm not going to be like Chad Flexington out there in a crop top and a beer belly. It's like I got to look fit and jacked. I can't have a beer belly. I can't be drinking Coronas on the sideline. And so a lot going into this, keeping all that in mind. I also had my family fly out from like Colorado. I had like a group of like 30 of my friends and family that all drove out there. And I'm thinking this entire time in the back of my head, I'm going to walk out there in American flag pants, a mullet, and a crop top. And I'm going to fall in the first obstacle and going to be the biggest loser in the history of the show. Like, I will never hear the end of it from my friends, my who watches the show. I'll never get to be on the show again. They're like, oh man, this guy is a clown. It's partially true, but so I had all of that, like that fear, the thought of that happening was just in the back of my mind the whole time. And so I'm Christian. I'm a religious guy. It's like when I stepped out there, I said a prayer. I'm just like, hey, I'm leaving it all in the course. I'm just gonna give it my go, get everything I got. And so my first run that I did, I fell on the first obstacle on the 5th obstacle on the city qualifying night, so the first night. And I think everything up until that point, like I thought the run, like every obstacle I completed, I was like, holy crap, man, this is going way better than I thought it would. And there, man, in front, like it's ruined now with the whole lockdown and like filming in front of cardboard cutouts. The energy and electricity, like pure 100%, just pure adrenaline dumps. Like I didn't have any idea what was going on. I was just in the zone. Like I didn't script, I didn't plan, I didn't work on really. I didn't really have any idea what I was gonna do when I got out there. But you just see everyone going nuts, dude, and you just go nuts. Or at least that's how I handled it. Like it's like, oh man. And like again, keeping that same thought in the back of my mind. I can't come out here in this outfit and just kind of, hey guys, like if I am anything but insanely over the top and just obnoxious and in your face, just ridiculous, it's gonna come off as awkward, I feel like.
Oh yeah,
so,
God, yeah.
Fortunately, I enjoy it. Again, that's kind of right up my alley. So it's like, oh man, I just got to go nuts with this. So like all the silly antics like I did after every obstacle is just like I was just kind of freehanding it, just going with the flow, which worked out pretty well. It was pretty epic. There's some good moves. Like looking back, like that was pretty solid. I don't know where that came from.
The one that comes to my mind, I don't remember which obstacle it was, but I think you were coming off one of the obstacles, laying on the platform, and you did the whole like yeah. I don't know which wrestling move it's called. You dart.
The dropping the people to rock. That's the people's elbows. So I had heard through the grapevine that Akbar was this undercover wrestling fan. And so when on the city finals night, that's on the back half of the course, after I made up the warp wall, Akbar's all like, like, yeah. And like, I got so jacked. I was well, hey, what? If you like see me, I'm like, come on, watch this. I went to the other side and just like, bam, just dropped him on there. It's awesome. I wish there's another little insider secret for people that don't know. We can't hear, well, I didn't compete in season 12. The little like the inside, which everyone was saying you can hear the announcers, Matt and Akbar. But in a normal season, everyone's just going crazy cheering, and so you can't hear anything they're saying. So it's like it's so disappointing because they're back and forth, and like especially Akbar, like it's like a ringside announcer. His jokes and his humor that he works in is just pure gold. And it's like that. I would get so much more jacked up if I heard like his reactions when I was running the course, like watching it, going back through, like I forget all of his lines that he was saying.
So many.
Yeah, he was like calling like, oh, he's like this ravishing something. I forget the guy's wrestler, but it's like some dude from the 80s with a slick mullet and everything.
Like Randy Macho or something. I don't know.
Macho Man Randy Savage.
That's the one I was thinking of.
There's some other one that he was like he was saying like I reminded him of. Anyway, so the first night in the city qualifiers, I went out on obstacle 5, but I did not pump out, contrary to what anyone thinks or what it looks like. It was just completely I gotten sidetracked again, like in the moment, like you're all amped up, like it went better than I expected. I was best case scenario, obviously, like make it up the wall and hit the buzzer. But it's like my first time on, I was like, dude, made it to the 5th obstacle. Like, I guess that's pretty good. And it was the whatever, I forget what it's even called. It's like the pit hopper. That's right. Yeah. So you got the little, like, they look like a Beats by Dre pill speaker, and it spins in the middle, right? And so you have to hop up there. And after I made it to the top, like, I'm like, oh man, this is easy. Like, that was not hard at all. Like, I felt really comfortable on him. I would say for my training, just like pull-ups and like back and like forearm, and I have very limited rock climbing, but just because of my background and like weightlifting and stuff, slopers are my best thing in rock climbing. Little crimpy, pinchy things I'm terrible at. But like slopers, like, oh, that's just forearms. I got this all day. Like, I'm gonna wreck this obstacle. And so I had crazy confidence going down. And then as you start to go down, you see the warp walls in the background. And then immediately my mind's like, I lost focus on the obstacle I was on. I'm like, dude, I'm getting that 18. Like, right when I saw it, I'm like, 18, $10,000, 100%. Yeah. Like, I'm 6'2". If I don't get the 18-footer, like, that's horrible. There's like guys like 6 inches shorter than me that are getting it. I got way longer reach.
Yeah.
And so then as I'm coming down, I kicked the thing. And then it was, I don't know if they greased up the bearing the first night or what, but that thing was just spinning like a propeller on an airplane. And like, I tried correcting it with my feet like 2 or 3 times. And then I'm just like, whatever. Like, I just got to go to it and like try to correct it. And so I was on the one that I kicked, I think was the last one. And I was on the second to last one is the one that I ended up slipping off on. And so I was thinking in my head, like, you know what? I'm just going to dismount from here. I don't even know if I want to touch the last one. It's like, you can see you're hanging there. And when your feet are swinging out, you're like, if I duck my head, I think I can get by that. So I just start going and start building up just a huge swing to get off of it. And on the backswing, just not thinking at all, like just completely lost the train of thought, because like you don't have on a sloper, you can't do a huge kick. Like you're going to get a powerful kick. It's more of like a kip, and you got to just pull yourself off of it. It can't be a huge swing. And so me, just knucklehead, like I kick my legs forward and then this huge backswing, and it's just like, as I peel off, it's just like that time froze. You're just like, oh my gosh, I blew it, didn't I? But I think I was like 16th or 17th or 18th or something as far as like top times, and top time to that point for the city qualifier. So top 30 move on to finals. So fortunately it was good enough, but like the second night I completely pumped out. That was juiced. That was everything I had on the 9th obstacle. But that night it was, I was like kind of beating myself up over it, because like that's so much more disappointing. Like when you make a mental error, as I'm sure you know, it's like if I pump out on something, it's like, hey man, I left it all out on the course. That was literally everything I had and probably then some.
Yeah.
But when you just make a stupid mental error, you're just like, ugh, that's something that you just kind of kick yourself and dwell on for a while. It's frustrating.
Probably for eternity, to be honest. I still think about it 3 years. Oh, only I got past that one thing, I would have hit the buzzer. Oh, I would have finished the, you still think about it.
Yeah.
What was the, I guess, response or expectation, say from the producers or from Matt Nuckbar on you with your getup? Because that's like you said before, the biggest fear is you going all out, you're going with this crazy character, and you bomb out on the first obstacle. So did you feel like that everyone around you, not your friends and family, but the producers and whatnot, did you think they had that expectation, or do you feel like they were fairly confident?
I would say yeah.
Oh, really?
like 100%. Like everyone. So okay, I can say this, which like for now. Makes sense why, like meeting him and knowing his personality. Grant, Island Ninja, he came up to me and he's like, he actually gave me like a little pep talk before the city qualifier round. I forget exactly what he said, but he as I was like in the hole, so there's like, or I was like the one or two people in front of me, he kind of came up and like super cool, just out of blue, gave me a pep talk. So I don't know if I was probably looking like I was sweating bullets there or something. But like, yeah, I would say more than likely the vast majority of the people thought like, oh, this guy's a costume character, which that's like a thing. So I was like, oh, costume competitors is like that's what the producers refer to them as. And like, you get guys like Jamie Ron that are very, very capable, very skilled ninjas that have that, and like those like, oh yeah, we want this, because like they have that little niche, that thing that they do, and they're also very talented athletes. But then you get like some other people that like come out in a costume, it's like they didn't make it past the quintuple step or the archer's arrows or whatever the first obstacle is, the shrinking steps, and it's like, okay, that's from a producer, I could imagine like that would be frustrating. Like, oh, especially like when they do like a big backstory on something. It's like, okay, you slipped off the rope that you were holding like on the first obstacle. So, and I can actually tell you from experience, from talking to the producers, that that is almost the expectations that they had. Like that's like, they're like, yeah, when we first kind of come out, they're like, oh, this guy's entertaining. But for the reasons that I just explained, it's like, a lot of the costume competitors, like they're just not really, they don't really, can't hang, pun intended. And so that's what they're like, yeah, when we actually saw, oh, this guy's actually somewhat competent. He can get by on the first few obstacles at least. Like he might actually have something here. Like this could do pretty well. And so I'm probably jumping out of order here, but on the skills episode that I won, that I'm the reigning champion in striding steps right now, that one of the producers literally came up and told me, he's like, yeah, when we put you up there against Grant, we just thought it was going to be entertaining to see you guys run. We didn't have any expectations for you to actually win the whole thing. Like, oh, hey, thanks, man. That means a lot. Like, oh, joke's on you, buddy.
Well, I think, yeah. Sorry,
no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I find that kind of surprising from the producers, considering you had one of the most unique testing opportunities I don't think many people have probably had, in the last
been like a year or something. So maybe he was decent. I don't know. Like, yeah, I think when you see a character like that, I think your natural instinct is, okay, this guy's just putting on a show. Like, he's not coming out here to perform. When like I was trying to, again, with that whole like, I'm 100% or nothing. Like, I'm gonna go 100% on the training. I'm going 100% over the top on my character. Like, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna give it everything I got. Yeah. So that was kind of the whole mentality with it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I had that same fear too. Exact same fear. Going in with this character, I didn't want to wear the outfit as I ran, or sort of at the start line kind of thing. But I felt like it was the only way to get through that, just to what's the word? What's the expression I'm looking for? Like we interview, just get your foot in the front door. I felt like that was the only way, but that played in the back of my mind. Oh, I'm going to make this big deal. I'm traveling all this way, other side of the world. I'm going to go out on the shrinking step.
Yeah, dude, so I think that's why the finals night I was just at ease. Like, I think I had surprised myself. Like, yeah, I made it to the city finals. That's pretty cool. Like, no matter kind of what happens, like, I got to be stoked on that. Like, not everyone, especially in a ridiculous outfit, makes it. Only 30 out of 100 people make it to the city finals. It's like, I was kind of stoked on that. And then it's like, okay, now the pressure's off. Like, whatever. Like, I didn't beef it on the first obstacle the first night. So it wasn't all just a joke. Like, okay, now I can just kind of just focus on performing. Which, like, there was less theatrics on the city final night. A side note, that's exhausting, by the way. When you're out of breath and you're like flexing as hard as you can in between obstacles instead of sitting there, slowing down your breathing, trying to completely get your composure back. When you're dropping elbows and flexing and screaming and doing like Hollywood Hulk Hogan stuff to the crowd, there's no break. So that's that would be my biggest tip, and actually kind of segue into like my training, or we could for season 12. What I was doing is that was my biggest takeaway, that I didn't prepare for it as well for Vegas for the finals back in season 11. But during the city finals night, like, my conditioning was just crap. It was so bad. And like by the ninth obstacle, like I thought, I didn't know I was going to be able to like go on after the warped wall. But again, it's just like adrenaline dump after adrenaline dump that like just kept me going through until the ninth obstacle. And it's like, I barely could lift my arms. And like the course up until that point wasn't pumpy. It wasn't like a really grip intense pumpy course. It's just when you can't breathe and you can't get oxygen into your lungs and start getting like replenishing your muscles. Like, I don't know if you do like sprints on jump rope for 15 minutes and then try to do 10 pull-ups versus just completely fresh going to do 10 pull-ups. Like that's it. It's exponentially harder when you can't breathe, when you're out of breath, like completely at like 220, 230 heart rate beats per minute. And then you're trying to do like just hanging things. It's exhausting.
Oh, absolutely.
That was my biggest takeaway from the city finals night, which ironically, I didn't really prepare much more. I would like go on runs, I guess. So that was just out of ignorance, because I'm just kind of learning as I go. Like my other training, like prior to doing Ninja, I was just, I'm going to do pull-ups and think I'm going to get really strong and good at Ninja. So I thought like, I'm going to go do running, and I'm going to like do jump roping, which I feel like was somewhat more, because it's a little bit more explosive than running. Like it would have been much more functional if I had just done sprints, 30-second break, sprint, everything I got, 30-second break. I would just go run a 5K. And I'm like, I did so much cardio. My conditioning is going to be crazy. But it's like, that wasn't like specific training. I wasn't honing into a specific skill set that I needed to harness in order to excel at Ninja, which it's like high intensity interval training, just it really is, 110%, very short rest. Everything you got to failure, very short rest. It's like, that's what the obstacles are. On the show, you have 30 seconds to rest, and the producer's like, hey, you have to go or you're out of here. Like, you can't rest anymore. And it's like, they'll tell you on the sidelines, like, you have to go, you can't rest anymore. Which like, they kind of cut that out for the TV magic of everything. But like that, and like all the NNLs and UNX and UNA, like they're all going to be 30-second breaks typically. Like, if trying to keep it, just so you keep it going, so people aren't just standing there. And that was that was the biggest like takeaway that I got from all of it. Just my lack of conditioning and how crappy it was.
Man, considering, especially watching it over the years and seeing, I think because I don't even think the city finals course used to be 10 obstacles. I think they've added one in over the last couple of years. I think it used to be 9, I think. And I feel like now it's 10, or was it always 10?
It's always been 10.
Oh, really? Oh.
10, yeah. They always just switch I feel like the obstacle that's changed the most is the 10th obstacle. Because it was a spider climb, and then it was like the invisible ladder. And then it was kind of the thing that they've been sticking with now is like the spider climb with the shelves that you got to push up and stuff.
Yeah.
I think the invisible ladder was sick. That was the best one. Because I could be wrong, but I don't know anyone, at least in the last couple seasons, that's failed the spider climb with the shelves. Is there anyone that you can think of?
No,
I could be wrong.
Unless they slipped, but nothing comes to mind. But I always felt like
no one clumps out on it.
Yeah.
They're not that. They say like, oh, they're 50 pounds, or it's like not that heavy, like just pushing it. Like it's not like you're even doing like an overhead press. You can use your body and your head and kind of just nudge it up there. And like the second you get past that fulcrum point too, all those 50 pounds aren't on it. It's getting lighter and lighter once you get past that fulcrum point. So I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that the invisible ladder one, that one, like that just pumps you out. I think that was a way better finishing one. And like
100%.
It tends to almost become like a gimme. Coming from the guy who's never even made it there.
Well, no, I agree with you. I mean, we've had the invisible ladder for quite some time. I think now we've gone into the just the chimney chutes, just straight up. Actually, I think we did have the doors. I think we had the doors our last season, but I do prefer the spider climb. I do spider climb. Invisible ladder. I think it's just like the ultimate, like grinded out, just
exactly.
Yes, all or nothing. It's all. I mean, I haven't done it personally either, but watching it, I feel like it's definitely more exciting than just climbing
like
up.
if I were to be, that would be my last exercise and like a workout that I'd be doing, because like it's everything you got. You gotta just dig deep and just get through this last one. That's what you want to see, like for the last set or the last obstacle. I feel like
100%. So I think I was reading. I think you came ninth actually. So in the city finals to go to.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if it was top. Was it top 12 that year?
Top 12, yeah.
Oof. So, that's
so that was my kind of thought, like going into like, oh, cool. The first year I get on, they knock off 3 positions that go to Vegas. Like that's really helping my odds here.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say. So, what was then that like? Just that moment of going, oh my god, I've qualified for finals.
It was pretty surreal. It was kind of like took a little while to set in. Like, cause again, I didn't like. I had high expectations, but it's like, dude, some of these guys are just unreal. Like what they're capable of. Like I haven't been training this. Like some of these guys have been doing this for 10 years. Like I'm just a noob rookie in a silly mullet. So like, yeah, I was honored and very excited to get that opportunity to go compete in Vegas. So it was pretty awesome. I like that drive home. So you film all night, and I don't anymore. I've moved, but I used to live in Ventura County, which is like a 45-minute drive from the set at Universal Studios. So I remember like driving home, like as the sun was rising the next morning, just like, oh man, like this is pretty awesome. Like a dream you've been chasing for years. Like I get to go to the national finals. Like it's pretty wild stuff. It was cool.
That's awesome. Did you rep? How did you change your training for Vegas?
That's kind of what I was going into earlier. Like I realized like it was my cardio. But again, I didn't approach it with like this specific style of training in mind. It's like, oh, just go for a jog or go do. It's like I was doing a 5K. Like I kind of went through a thing when I was training, like a 5K every day for a month. Kind of caught. I know like Jamie Ron, I think had that, and I saw him like, oh yeah, I could do that. Or he was doing it like every day for like a year or something. It's like I'm gonna give that a go and just start doing cardio. Just get my conditioning, like my endurance per se, but it's a different type of endurance. It's like this slower pace, long term, just 25 minutes continuous, keeping your pulse, your heart rate at the same. Whereas Ninja is radically different than that. It's like it's failure, short rest, failure, short rest. Everything you have is explosive as you can be, and a very short amount of rest time where you don't fully recover. So it's that compounding fatigue that sets in obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, and that's the whole challenge in Ninja. If you take any one obstacle, with the exception of like some very challenging ones, like stage 3 type stuff, they're all pretty easy on their own. Like they're not. I can say that out of experience from testing them. Like any one obstacle, anyone can do it on any given day. Like they're not that hard. It's the compounding effect from that fatigue that starts to set in, which comes from endurance and that stamina that you get from training that for so long.
Oh, absolutely. Especially stage 1, I think there is no stopping. I mean, that block is there is no rest. You really cannot afford to rest at all.
And that's like I had thinking I had been training for that and just like going on those runs. And that's like by the first 3 obstacles that I got through, like it was no rest. It was like, all right, just got to go. It's like you're kind of trying to control your breathing for like that 5 seconds as you're walking on the platform or something. So it doesn't look like you're resting, but you're kind of composing yourself, and then just go. And I can segue into this too. So the double dipper was obstacle 3, the one that I went out on. So, I probably
How do you
should
prepare
disclose
for that?
so, so typically you don't get to see that. That's all part of the secret. Like part of the fun in Ninja is like you don't know what obstacles you're gonna face. That's the big hush hush thing. Like there's there's some shenanigans that goes on, but no one's supposed to know what obstacles there are, because then they're like, oh, we can go train for that, because that's part of it too. It's like all these unexpected things that you've never seen before. That's what keeps the show exciting, right? So in Vegas is no different. And so, however, in season 10, there was like a third of the top contenders, like I think like Flip, Joe Moravsky, just that I can think of off the top of my head, like they went out on the double dipper. So there's like, it was something that at least I was told had never happened before. All the competitors, we got to go test that obstacle the night before we were actually to compete in Vegas, which is kind of unprecedented because, again, like, oh man, you can see everything. But in Vegas, it's set out right off the strip. All you got to do is walk by it and you can see everything. So people have seen it. But however, they didn't want, and I have binoculars in my room at the Luxor. I was sitting up there trying to like kind of help, but it really didn't at all. I could just see really small versions of the obstacles. Like as far as strategizing, it did not help at all. But I spent like $30 at Walmart in Vegas to buy these cheesy binoculars. It didn't help at all. Huge waste of money. Actually, they're right here. My office is in my closet, and I have my binoculars and all my hunting stuff in here. So those are all from Vegas. Anyway, so I'm digressing. So the double dipper, we got to test it the night before, and I had never done it. It is very intimidating, especially if someone's like, oh, it was my first time in Vegas. I had tested the obstacles the year before, but I didn't get to test the double dipper. I tested the striding steps, the last obstacle on there, and the Jeep run. And so I never got to touch the double dipper. So you walk up there, it's like, dude, that platform, it's like, you're like 25, 30 feet up. It's definitely intimidating. Like, it's like, oh man, like, all right, no, like we just got to go. And so when I did it, I like didn't know what to do with the body, didn't know like what the body control technique was on it. Like all I knew is like, it's a spinning bar. You're going to hit some serious G's in like that dip. And a spinning bar, like if you're not switch grip, like you're probably like, unless you have crazy gnarly grip strength, you're super light, like which some guys are, you're probably going to peel off. So switch grip and just kind of went for it. And what I did, like I left my feet on the platform and then like kind of inch out a little bit, like, all right, here we go. And then so what that did though is like you come down, it's kind of like that dip and then you launch up. So if you drag your feet behind you, when you start coming down that first track, your feet are swinging down. So then you get that swinging momentum at the bottom of the dip instead of right when you release, which is after you start to go back up. So what that causes you to do is it throws you off balance. And so I was leaning back when I hit the stop and I released to go to the next bar. So instead of like my feet pointing down and my hands flying at it, I was flying at the bar like this, like leaning back.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And my right foot hit the bar. And like I kind of like in the heat of the moment, like I kind of kicked it and the bar flew up and I was able to switch grip and grab it. And I pulled it into my chest and somehow landed on the rail and rode it out. And I landed on the pad. And that's what, oh man, why am I drawing a blank on it right now? Man, Maker Ninja, like Kevin Carbone.
Okay, yeah.
Kevin Carbone is on the sidelines. Oh, dude, that was crazy. That was cool. But like, don't drag your feet on the platform. So that's what afterwards, that's he's like, I've done it before. And he probably, I don't know if he invented that obstacle. The guy like invents half the obstacles on the show. That's what he's like, when you step off the platform, just keep your feet hanging straight down and just kind of go off. Like you don't want to lean out really far first because what'll happen, like you'll get kicked back when you do that first release. So I was like, all right, cool. Like now I have the move. I know the beta on it. And I did it this time, like in horrible fashion. Like it was a miracle that I was even able to hang on to it and grab it. So the second night going into that, like, again, you're kind of in that, like, this is a sprint. I just got to go. I don't have time to think about anything. The only thing I thought of was like right when I got up there after that second, like the spin cycle or whatever the second obstacle was, it's just like, all right, do not drag your feet. Just like step off and hop and just go and try to keep like your feet hanging down. And so I did that. And when I hit the release, it was like perfect. Like my hands were slightly, I was maybe leaning like 10 degrees forward, like, oh man, this is easy. I got this, no problem. But I did, like, since I was flying like that, like I just instinctually went double overhand on it. And so right when I caught the bar, like it felt buttery smooth. Like I felt like I flew right into it. And then as I started going down into the dip, I'm thinking like, okay, this is a lache. So I'm going to swing off of it. So when I got to the bottom of the dip, my arms were completely stretched out, as they would be if you're trying to do a lache. And the night before, when I had caught the bar, I brought it into my chest because I was freaking out, super tense, and I barely was able to grab it. So when I hit that second dip, like that launches you onto the landing platform, you got this right here. Just like if you're holding a lock off, if your grip's failing, but you're able to still lock off, you can grip on better because like it's going to take some of that tension from your grip and transfer it down into your biceps, your lats that you're holding it. When you're completely stretched out, that's 100% grip. So as I'm like trying to build a kick, thinking I need to lache off of it when you just really got to let go and it launches you. As I did, it's just the G forces at the bottom of that just completely peeled me off. And I hit like the landing platform and then fell back into the water. So even still, I was like, oh man, if I'd been like another foot or two, but it's all good. I mean, I made it to Vegas first year, so I was like, I was stoked on it. Like, it was very much like the city qualifier night, though. Like, I didn't go out because, like, I was pumped out. I went out on a mental air, and then, like, the injury was, like, I completed the obstacle the night before, and then I fail on it when it actually counts. But when it didn't matter at all, I did it.
Yeah.
So you have that haunting you, like, I shouldn't have even tested it. I should have just gone into it blind and – which I never got to test it because then I would have been super intense and I wouldn't have been like so laxed on it and like underestimated it because that's definitely what I did.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think, I mean, obviously I've never experienced, I guess finals, even on the Australian one, but you know, with Vegas, it just seems like it's its own separate beast. Like,
it is.
The obstacles that they come up with are just, you know, where are you going to see them? You're not even going to see them in other countries because there's no space. You know, we have such, so I don't know how some of those guys can prepare. Obviously, I know a lot of them build, like when I was at Grit in New York with Lucio, you know, he was showing me some of the obstacles they have. And obviously they've rebuilt, and I think a few other gyms have rebuilt Vegas style obstacles, but you never know what they're going to throw at you. And I guess something like the Big Dipper is, unless you've got the proper spacing, it's more, how do you prepare?
Very few people can actually like can facilitate that in their backyard or their property or whatever. Like it's not something you go to your local gym like, hey, do you have a full size double dipper here?
I know, right? The only one I've ever seen in a backyard is at some Japanese guy's house, and I think when the competitors from America go to Japan, I've seen them train at this person's house, and he's got a double dipper. I don't think it's full size, but it's got the right curves and everything.
Oh, nice. I want to say I think there's a couple gyms that have like pretty close to scale double dippers now, but
oh wow,
there's like a couple of them across the country. It's not very accessible to 90% of the population. So
yeah,
that's how people get like everyday regular practice on them.
100%. Man, I reckon we could keep talking for ages, but I got a friend who's gonna pick me up soon. I gotta go help him out with something. But I had some questions from some people. They wanted to know. I mean, it was pretty much the same question, just asked differently. It's like, how does this guy get so jacked? What does this guy eat? So, what is the secret to the Chad Flexington, if you can share?
Yes, and that's one of my biggest things. Like, I love helping people and educating them on diet choices. I you preface that with the wrong statement by saying, hey man, I kind of got to go in a few minutes because I talk for hours on this. It's something that's a passion of mine, something I've been interested in and reading and educating myself on for 32. Probably I got into serious weightlifting in high school, playing football when I was like 15, 14.
Yeah.
So
I've got enough time. I just had to say that just so I can keep track. But no, we got time. Tell me.
Well, I won't give you a super winded answer. However, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the vast majority, overwhelming majority of any, and I'm going to call it dogma that you hear in the fitness industry about what are the good diet techniques, this is what you should be eating. There's something you should be eating for if you're trying to make specific gains, like, you know, my goal is weight loss. You can lose a lot of weight very unhealthy ways. And that's, I know from a lot of experience from years and years of like, look in hindsight's always 20/20. It's terrible. It was taxing on my body. And I have found this out through numerous injuries and all these things. And I started looking into like, okay, well, like what supplements can I take? When I first got into Ninja, finger injuries, torn ligaments, just repeatedly over and over again, my knuckles. That's why I was like, I will never be able to complete stage 3 just because I always have some, like I jammed my finger, I twisted it, I sprained it. There's something wrong that like is inhibiting my vertical grip strength or my crimp strength. Like I just continued jacking myself up. I started looking in like I always have, like, okay, well, I got this good diet, my body fat's as low as I can, so my power to weight ratio is maximized, and yet like I'm susceptible to injuries, which baffled me because it's like, dude, I think of myself as a very healthy person, very health conscious. I'm eating this lean chicken, eating just all the things you're supposed to. Lots of broccoli, lots of Brussels sprouts, lean chicken, lean turkey, avoiding these red meats, fat-free milk, all this stuff, and I got good results in the sense that I lost weight. I got really low body fat, and I was able to put on muscle. Now, you can have very calorie dense food that is devoid of essential nutrients for your body. If you don't get vitamin A, if you're severely chronically deficient vitamin A, you can go blind. Your vision starts becoming damaged. Why? Because our bodies, we have certain nutritional requirements. If you have extreme vitamin C deficiencies, that's what causes the disease scurvy. That's something in the early 20th century that took out a lot of people, and it was just, you don't have vitamin C. In hindsight, again, 2020, it's all so simple. And so I completely radically changed my approach to diet. And this is something that's happened in the last probably since I competed even on the show. Like looking back now, like what I would put my body through is like, that is so stupid. Like, sure. Like, and I could get there and I could maintain that low of a body fat for extended periods of time. However, if you're doing that, the small amounts of food that you are eating, it is absolutely paramount that in those little snippets of food that you're getting throughout the day, you need to get the most nutrient dense food, give your body the essential nutrients and requirements that it needs. And I had this in my mind from over a decade in like weightlifting and trying to like, oh, I gotta be jacked, bro. Like I gotta go bench 350 and lift, and I gotta get my 6-pack on. And so I following all the bodybuilding.com forum and all these guys and doctors that are like, oh yeah, this is what you need to be eating. And it's like, people say, oh, you're not a scientist, you can't say this, you don't know this. Like, no, I have real world experience. Like I would dare to say that I'm very educated in this field. I'm very knowledgeable in it, and I have the real world experience and results to back. Again, it's just my opinion, but I am very passionately have this opinion. So that being said, my whole diet has gone back to more traditional diets. So I'm eating very, very large amounts of grass-fed, pasture-fed red meat. I eat a lot of organ meat, liver, kidney, heart, all the things that like in modern diets are very taboo. Those, if you look back in traditional diets, you being from Australia, a lot of the Aboriginal cultures, they knew these things. They're one of the most hardy groups of peoples, cultures of people in human history. And it's like, if you look at what they would eat, their diet was just like raw meat, focusing on the organ meat because they knew that was the most nutrient dense food. So a lot of red meat. I rarely eat chicken. I do. It's not like I don't avoid it. Like my wife wants to cook like a roasted chicken. I'm going to eat it. I'm also going to get the gizzard, all the innards. I'm getting the kidneys, the liver, the heart, and eating all that.
Wow.
So that's key. That would be one of my biggest things is organ meat. That's super, super overlooked. And it is literally a multivitamin. That's what it is. It is a natural God-given multivitamin for us that is just like liver. If you look at like the cost of liver per pound, if you're buying meat, it's trash meat. Like tri-tip is more expensive than it, which like tri-tip isn't even a very nice cut of meat to eat. And yet the liver, which has exponentially more nutritive value than the tri-tip would, it's cheaper. Wow. And it's like, you're like, oh, it tastes gross. I don't want to eat liver. So my diet recommendations now from a nutritive point of view, a lot of red meat. The reason why I would do that over chicken is chickens are alive before they go to slaughter for months. Cows are alive for years. They have much more time to accumulate micronutrients in their meat, which we're then going to get when we ingest said meat. So it's simple as that. But then even keeping that in mind, not all meat's going to be created equal. If you have a cow that spent its whole life in a feedlot, in a piece of dirt that's shaded from the sun, that is eating corn and soy-based food, as opposed to a cow, which is grazing on open pasture, eating nutrient-dense, rapidly growing grasses from nutrient-rich soil with diverse soil ecology, which is helping grow these nutrient plants. Like, it all goes up that food chain. And so, like, if you're eating animals like that have been stuck in this this factory farming environment, if you will, that's why a lot of these red meats, a lot like bacon, it gets like a really bad rap. Oh, it's really high in fat, omega-6 fats. It's like, well, what's its diet like? That animal is going to be made up of all the constituent items that it's ingesting. So it's like, if you're feeding crap to this animal and then you eat that said crappy animal, you're going to be eating crap, obviously.
Makes sense.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Like, I kind of have a unique perspective in this, working in agronomy and agriculture, research and development. If you have a plant and it's unhealthy, it's typically because it's deficient in nutrients, even if it's got some sort of susceptibility to a pathogen, whether it be an insect or a fungi or something, typically because it doesn't have the requirements to mount any sort of defense against it. So it's deficient calcium, potassium, magnesium, whatever it may be, whatever element it may be. And so it's like, if you're going to be eating those plants, or eating like tomatoes from a tomato plant that was very deficient in these nutrients, of course, when it's photosynthesizing and storing and loading all these nutrients in its fruit, it's going to be deficient in those same nutrients. And so it's going to be growing, it's going to be a weak plant that produces weak fruit that don't have very high nutritive value. So then you're eating that, and you're not getting what you should be getting, which, like I said, I could probably be talking about this all day long, and
That's awesome.
Explanations for it. But if I were to just give some key pointers, get organic grass-fed meat. It's going to be far more rich in micronutrients. Again, something that's majorly overlooked in most diets. And again, speaking out of experience, I was focused on proteins, fats, and carbs. I want to hit all my macros. If you dial that in, you can get the results you want, which you can on the surface. Just because you see some guy who's really skinny, he could be a drug addict. He could be the most unhealthy person in the world. It's like, oh, look at that. He looks like he's pretty fit. It's like, no, look at his liver and look at his organs. The guy's dying, right? So it's like, I feel like that's just an extreme example to drive home a point that it's like, just because you're eating what you think are the right things, are you giving your body exactly what it needs and all the nutrients? So I try to focus, limit my things from unprocessed, just natural, unadulterated foods. Nothing preserved. Try to get as fresh as I can. Like, if you get the meat, just freeze it. Try to eat some fresh fruits and vegetables. But I would stick to the pasture-raised meat. It can be chicken, it can be turkey, it can be any sort of game, venison, deer. Like, if you have that available to you. But one thing that most might surprise some people is I have bacon literally every single morning.
I love bacon. I love it.
Now, you pay a little bit of a premium to get like a pasture-raised pig. But you're getting very good, healthy food. It's going to have a better balance of omega-3 and omega-6 fats. It's going to have cholesterol, which that's a whole, I can go off on a whole on cholesterol and all these things that, like, in this traditional dogma, which even doctors will tell you, oh, you shouldn't have that. And you ask them, like, oh, like, what experience do you have, like, on nutrition? Like, what should someone's nutrition be like? Oh, I don't know. So they can treat all these symptoms, and they're brilliant and very good at doing it. However, it's like, how can we avoid these in the first place? Like, what do we need to be getting in our diet that can prohibit these things from ever even occurring? So, sorry, I keep completely sidetracking and can go off on tangents for days. So,
no, man, that's all good.
Pasture-raised meat, eggs, lots of eggs. Don't do what I did for over a decade and like, oh, bro, I'm getting these lean egg whites. I'm going to look so jacked. They're so good for me. All the nutrients are in the yolk. Literally, if you were to break down the nutritive value of the white versus the yolk, it's 99 to 1. Don't waste part of the egg. Eat whole eggs. Don't eat egg whites. Again, this is like, oh, you're speaking like, no, I should have egg yolks because like or egg whites, they're leaner. Like, that's going to help me achieve my fitness goals and gains. And it's like, it can, you're right, because it's just, you're in a caloric deficit, you're going to lose weight, but it's not what your body needs, which you can't excel and perform optimally in whatever you're doing without giving your body the right fuel that it needs. So egg yolks, lots of seafood, crustaceans, different fresh fish, fish eggs, super, super dense in good fats and micronutrients. Anything from the sea, essentially anything from the ocean, eat lots of it. That'd probably be the best way to summarize that. Organ meat, Dairy. So this is a whole nother topic too. When you get into dairy, most people are like, oh, I have a dairy allergy. It's like, well, do you? Perhaps you're missing something in your diet that is prohibiting the enzymatic reaction that you're going to have in your gut to properly digest it and assimilate the nutrients. Maybe that's it. Maybe you're missing something else, which is inhibiting your body's ability to perform normal tasks, like have dairy. For example, this right here, this is raw milk from a local cow. So we only drink raw milk, not pasteurized, not homogenized.
Wow.
So there's lots of bacteria that come in on these unadulterated foods. Or milk, for example, is loaded with lactobacillus, which is a digestive enzyme. It's in milk. When you pasteurize it, you kill it. You destroy that bacteria. So of course your body's going to have a hard time digesting it because the microbes that are there that are essential and necessary to help your body digest it are missing. They've been eradicated through the pasteurization process, which just cooks them and kills them. The reason being is because you're going to kill any E. coli or salmonella or anything like that that could ride in and use that as a host or a vector to carry that. But that's going back to that. Well, if you have an animal that grew up in a really crappy feedlot environment, that's going to be prone and susceptible to getting these bacteria and stuff because it's not a clean environment. It's not sterile. It's not exposed to sunlight, natural environment that it's supposed to be in. Then it's like the cow gets the bad rap. Like, oh, don't eat cow. Don't eat dairy because it's bad. You could get salmonella if you drink raw milk, or you get E. coli, listeria. I think that's the main one too with raw milk, raw dairy products. You get listeria because the bacteria that grows in it. It's like listeria isn't just inherently in milk. And it's like, or this E. coli, it's like if they grew up in an environment and then that cow, the milk, the udders, whatever, they came in contact with some surface that had that on it, it's going to hitch a ride in on the milk. It's like, oh, milk is bad. Don't have that. Or I have a dairy problem. That's another thing too. So you're going to drink milk, drink full milk, raw milk, lots of fat. You want all that fat in there. And fruits and vegetables, you can throw them in there. It's like, oh, I want to have banana. I want to have an apple. There's some veggies like, I eat fruits and vegetables, but I'm not like, I have to get this, which I used to be. Every single meal, balancing out all my macros, my protein, fats, and carbs, I got to get a serving of vegetables. I got to get spinach. I got to eat my broccoli. I got to eat my Brussels sprouts. Everything in the brassica family is very, very, very hard, non-fermented for human bodies to digest. So what that means is old Chad Flexington was ripping them all day long for years. And my wife would like literally say, Ben, you honest to God, there's something wrong with you. You speak, you smell like I'd be farting all the time. And I thought, it's just because I'm having protein shakes and like it's my diet because I'm on a jack diet, babe. That's why I'm farting. And like lo and behold, you eliminate these certain things. What I was going on the brassicas, they're loaded with nutrients, yes, but they're also very difficult for our bodies to load with anti-nutrients, which you can look into to see what that is, and different compounds that are hard for our bodies to digest. And so that's why you get flatulence as a result of that, because it's struggling. You're not getting all those nutrients out of it, and a lot of it's just going at it being excreted as waste. However, ferment these items prior to consuming them, it pre-digests them and breaks them down, and then when you do eat them, it's much easier in your digestive tract. You're not going to get any gas, you're not going to have any bloating, and you're going to actually be able to assimilate all the nutrients from them. So if you do eat veggies, ferment them.
And I hate to cut you off, but I reckon we could do a whole nother episode about
I'm sick of hearing your nutritional tips, Ben.
I'm sure we could do a whole episode on this, but mate, this has been absolutely epic. I'm so glad we were able to link this one up. I think there's some very interesting things for people to think about, especially with how they approach their application and you know how to create a storyline effectively from not from nothing, but from something that you wouldn't think would be something. And just in general, bro, you're such a cool dude. I'm really glad we could actually meet finally.
Likewise. Thank you for having me on.
But maybe when the time comes, you can come out to Australia.
Yeah.
You bring the whole outfit.
I wouldn't come without it.
You could do a whole vlog of you traveling the country. In this.
Hopefully by that time I'll have the real mullets. I won't need the wig.
You'll come to the gym and I'm like, hey, listen, I'm sorry, I don't know this guy.
Come arrest this man. I don't know who this is. Guy is demented.
Oh man, Ben, been an absolute pleasure, man. I'll we'll do this again. I'd love to do this again. We could talk about the nutrition stuff a little bit more, and I'll make sure I send you my video. You can tell me
Yeah, I want to check that out. So you got my email, so you can send it over. I'll be
100%.
expecting it.
100%. All right, Ben. You take care, buddy. You have a good one.
Have a good one.
Take care.
We'll
See ya.
see ya. Bye.